The phone rang at exactly 3:47 in the afternoon, just as Alina was finishing her lunch break. She almost didn't answer it. The caller ID showed an unknown number, and she'd been getting too many spam calls lately, but something made her pick. "Up, Dr. Rodriguez. Thank goodness you answered." The voice belonged to Tom, a construction foreman she'd worked with before. "We've got a situation here at the Oak Street site. There's a fox trapped in the debris, and it looks hurt. My crew won't continue until we get it out safely." Lena grabbed her emergency kit and rushed to her truck. The Oak Street construction site was only 10 minutes away, but traffic made it feel like forever. She could hear the worry in Tom's voice during their phone call. Construction workers might seem tough, but most of them had soft hearts when it came to animals. When she arrived, a small crowd had gathered around a pile of broken concrete and twisted metal. The demolition crew had been tearing down an old building when they discovered the fox. It must have been sleeping in the basement when the work started there, Doc. You see it? Tom pointed to a gap between two large concrete slabs. Lena knelt down and peered into the darkness. Two bright amber eyes stared back at her. The fox was beautiful, with the most gorgeous red fur she'd ever seen, but she could tell it was scared and possibly injured. "Hey there, little one," she whispered softly. "I'm here to help you." The fox didn't move, but its eyes never left her face. Alina had rescued hundreds of animals over the years, but something about this one felt different. Maybe it was those unusual amber eyes, or the way the fox seemed to be studying her rather than simply being afraid. She opened her emergency kit and pulled out a pair of thick leather gloves. The space was tight, and she'd have to crawl part way under the debris to reach the animal. The construction workers offered to help, but Alina knew this required a gentle touch. "Keep everyone back," she told Tom. "Scared animals can be unpredictable." Alina squeezed into the narrow space, speaking softly to the fox the entire time. "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to get you out of here safely." As she got closer, she could see that the fox's back leg was caught under a piece of metal. It wasn't a serious injury, but enough to trap the poor creature. Alina worked carefully, using a small crowbar to lift the metal just enough to free the leg. "Almost there," she murmured. "Just a little more." The moment the fox was free, something unexpected happened. Instead of running away like most wild animals would, it turned and gently bit her wrist. Not hard enough to really hurt, but firm enough to leave small marks through her glove. Alina was surprised, but not alarmed. Animals sometimes bit when they were scared or in pain, but this felt different. The fox looked directly into her eyes as it did it, almost like it was trying to communicate something. "Well, that's a first," she said with a small laugh. "Usually they wait until I'm trying to give them medicine." She carefully lifted the fox and carried it to her truck. The animal seemed surprisingly calm now, settling into the carrier without any fuss. Those amber eyes kept watching her through the metal bars, and Alina found herself talking to it more than she usually did with her patients. "You're going to be just fine," she said. "I'll check that leg and make sure you're healthy before we find you a nice, safe place to recover." Back at her clinic, Alina examined the fox thoroughly. The leg injury was minor, just some bruising and a small cut. What puzzled her was how calm the animal remained during the examination. Most wild foxes would be terrified, but this one seemed almost comfortable with her touch. "You're a strange one, aren't you?" she said, gently cleaning the wound. "It's like you actually understand what I'm saying." The fox tilted its head, and Alina could have sworn it was listening to every word. Worked with animals her entire career, but she'd never encountered one that seemed so intelligent, so aware. After treating the minor injuries, Alina placed the fox in a comfortable recovery cage in her clinic's back room. She left food and water, though the animal didn't seem particularly interested in either. Continued watching her with those remarkable amber eyes. "I'll check on you later," Alina said. "Get some rest, and tomorrow we'll see about finding you a good spot to return to the wild." But as she locked up the clinic that evening, Alina couldn't stop thinking about the fox. Something about the whole encounter felt unusual. The way it had bitten her so gently, the intelligence in its eyes, the complete lack of fear. She'd rescued hundreds of animals, but none had ever made such a strong impression on her. Her wrist still tingled slightly where the fox had bitten her, even through the glove. She examined the small marks in her bathroom mirror that night. They were barely visible, more like gentle pressure marks than actual bites. Strange. Alina found herself returning to the clinic around 9 o'clock. It's much later than she usually would. She told herself she just wanted to check on all her patients. But she knew she was really coming back for the fox. The clinic was quiet and dark, except for the small night lights in the recovery room. Alina made her way to the back, expecting to find the fox sleeping peacefully in its cage. Instead, she found the cage door open and completely empty. "What in the world?" she whispered, looking around the room. The lock was still intact, and there were no signs of the cage being damaged. It was as if the fox had simply vanished into thin air. Alina searched the entire clinic, checking every room, every corner, every possible hiding place. Nothing. The fox had completely disappeared. But that was impossible. The clinic was secure, and there was no way a fox could have opened that cage from the inside. As she stood in the middle of the recovery room, completely bewildered, Alina heard a soft sound behind her. She turned around slowly, and her heart nearly stopped. Standing in the doorway was a man she'd never seen before. He was tall and lean, with dark hair and the most unusual amber eyes she'd ever seen. Amber eyes that looked exactly like the fox's. "Please don't be afraid," he said in a gentle voice. "I can explain everything." Alina's mind raced. A stranger in her clinic in the middle of the night should have terrified her, but something about his voice, his presence felt oddly familiar. And those eyes. Those were definitely the same eyes that had been watching her all day. "Who are you?" she managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. "How did you get in here?" The man stepped into the room, and Alina noticed he was wearing clothes that looked like they belonged to someone else. They were too big, hanging loosely on his frame, like he'd borrowed them in a hurry. "My name is Kieran," he said, never taking his eyes off her face, "and I owe you an apology. I bit you during the rescue today, and I need to explain why." Alina's rational mind told her to run, to call for help, to do anything but stand there, talking to this mysterious stranger. But something deeper, something she couldn't quite understand, told her to stay and listen. "That's impossible," she said. "I was bitten by a fox, not a person." Kieran's expression was gentle but serious. "I know this is hard to believe, but I was that fox. And I bit you because—" He paused, looking almost embarrassed. "Because I thought you were the most beautiful, kindest person I'd ever encountered, and my instincts took over." Alina stared at him, her mind struggling to process what she was hearing. This man was claiming to be the fox she'd rescued. It was impossible, ridiculous, the kind of thing that only happened in fairy tales. But those eyes, those unmistakable amber eyes that had been watching her all day, were looking at her right now from a human face. Alina stood frozen in her clinic, staring at the man who claimed to be the fox she'd rescued. Her scientific mind kept telling her this was impossible, but those amber eyes were impossible to ignore. They were exactly the same ones that had watched her all day. "This isn't real," she whispered, backing up against the wall. "People don't just turn into animals. That's not how the world works." Kieran took a careful step forward, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "No, how crazy. This sounds... Trust me, I've lived with this reality my whole life, and sometimes I still can't believe it myself." "Prove it," Alina said suddenly, surprising herself with her boldness. "If you're really that fox, prove it to me." Kieran looked around the small room nervously here. "Now, Alina, I don't think that's a good idea. The transformation isn't exactly... ... Well, it's not something you usually do in front of people." "My name," Alina realized. "I never told you my name." "How do you know my name?" "Your name tag," Kieran said simply. "I could read it when you were rescuing me. I heard the construction workers calling you Dr. Rodriguez." Alina felt a mix of relief and disappointment. Of course, there was a logical explanation. But then Kieran continued talking, and her world shifted again. "You have a small scar on your left hand from when you were 7 years old," he said quietly. "You got it trying to help an injured bird in your backyard. That's when you first knew you wanted to help animals." Alina's breath caught in her throat. She'd never told anyone that story. The only way he could know was if he'd somehow been watching her very closely, or if he really was the fox and had sensed something about her during the rescue. You also have a habit of talking to animals like they're people, Kieran added with a small smile. You told me at least 6 times that I was going to be fine, and you apologized twice for the medicine stinging, even though you hadn't given me any medicine yet. Alina sank into the chair beside the empty cage. This is impossible. You're asking me to believe that shapeshifters are real, that they live among us, that everything I thought I knew about the world is wrong? Not wrong, Kieran said gently. Just incomplete. There's so much more to this world than most people realize. My kind has been living alongside humans for thousands of years. We're just very good at staying hidden. Your kind. Alina looked up at him. There are more of you? Kieran nodded, pulling up another chair so they could sit face to face. Lots more. No. Not just foxes either. There are wolves, bears, ravens, even some big cats. We all have our own communities, our own ways of living. Elena's mind raced with questions. How is this possible? How does it work? Are you born this way? Can you control it? Slow down, Kieran said with a laugh. Those are all good questions. But maybe we should start with the basics. Yes, I was born this way. My parents are both shapeshifters, though not everyone in our community is. Some are born to human parents and don't discover their abilities until later in life. And you can. Just ... change whenever you want, mostly? Yes. Emotions can make it harder to control. Strong feelings, especially fear or anger, can trigger unexpected shifts. That's part of why I bit you today. Lena touched her wrist where the bite marks were barely visible. You said you bit me because you thought I was beautiful. That doesn't sound like fear or anger. Kieran's cheeks turned red, and he looked away. That's the embarrassing part. My fox form, my instincts are stronger than my human thoughts. When you were rescuing me, being so gentle and kind, speaking to me like I mattered, it triggered something deeper. What kind of something? Fox shapeshifters. We're very loyal creatures. When we find someone special, someone who touches our hearts, we have this instinct too. Mark them. It's like a way of saying this person is important to me. Alina stared at him. You marked me? I'm so sorry, Kieran said quickly. I didn't mean to. In my human form, I would never do something like that without permission. But as a fox feeling grateful and drawn to you, my instincts took over. Alina stood up and paced around the small room. Let me get this straight. You're a fox who can become human, or a human who can become a fox. You live in some kind of secret shapeshifter community. And today, when I rescued you, you bit me because your animal instincts decided I was special. That's actually a pretty good summary, Kieran said. This is insane, Alina muttered. Yesterday, the weirdest thing in my life was Mrs. Chen's cat, who kept eating her houseplants. Now I'm having a conversation with a shapeshifter who says he marked me. I know it's a lot to process, Kieran said softly. If you want me to leave and never contact you again, I understand. Most humans can't handle knowing about our world. Alina stopped pacing and looked at him. What happens now? You report back to your shapeshifter friends that you told a human your secret? Do I get my memory erased or something? Nothing like that, Kieran assured her. We're not some kind of conspiracy. We just prefer to keep our privacy. If you can keep our secret, then nothing has to change. But everything has already changed, Alina said. I can't just pretend this conversation never happened. I can't unknow what I know now. They've sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, both lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Alina spoke again. Can I ask you something personal? After everything we've discussed tonight, I think we're past worrying about personal questions, Kieran said with a smile. What's your life like? I mean, do you have a job? A family? You live in the woods? Or have a regular house? I'm a wildlife. Photographer Kieran said, It's perfect for someone like me. I can use my fox form to get close to animals that would normally run from humans. I get pictures that other photographers could never capture. Hey, that's actually brilliant, Alina said, genuinely impressed. You must get incredible shots. I do okay, Kieran said modestly. And I live in a regular house, though it's on the edge of town near the woods. My family lives nearby too. We'd like to stay close to each other. Alina found herself relaxing as they talked. Kieran seemed so normal, so human, despite his extraordinary secret. Do you ever wish you were just regular human? It can be lonely, not being able to share your true self with most people. Dating is especially complicated. I can imagine, Elena said. It's hard to explain to someone why you sometimes turn into a fox. Exactly, Kieran said. Most relationships don't survive that conversation. Elena realized she was actually enjoying talking to him. Despite the impossible circumstances, Kieran was easy to talk to. He was funny, thoughtful, and surprisingly down-to-earth for someone who could transform into an animal. I should probably get going, Kieran said, glancing at the clock. It's getting late, and you've had enough shocks for one day. Wait, Elena said, surprising herself. Will I see you again? Kieran looked at her hopefully. Would you want to? Elena thought about it. 24 hours ago, she would have said the idea was ridiculous. But now, looking at this kind, gentle man with his extraordinary secret, she found herself curious about his world. Yes, she said finally, I think I would. 3 weeks had passed since Elena's world turned upside down. 3 weeks of secret meetings with Kieran, learning about his shapeshifter community, and discovering feelings she never expected to have. They met almost every day now, usually at Elena's clinic after hours or at the small coffee shop downtown. Kieran had become her unofficial consultant on animal behavior, and his insights were incredible. He could explain things about animal psychology that no textbook had ever taught her. The injured hawk you treated yesterday, Kieran said, sipping his coffee. She's not eating because she's depressed, not because she's physically sick. Elena looked up from her notes. Depressed? Hawks can get depressed? All animals can? She's a mother, and she's worried about her babies. She was hunting for them when she got hurt. Now she feels like she's failing them. Elena felt her heart clench. Is there anything I can do to help? Maybe if we could find her nest and check on her chicks, show her they're okay, she might start eating again. Elena smiled. You mean you'd help me find them? Kieran grinned back. I know these woods better than anyone. In my fox form, I can track scents and follow paths that humans would never notice. This was how their relationship had developed over the past 3 weeks. Elena would present him with challenging cases, and Kieran would offer solutions that combined his human knowledge with his animal instincts. They made an incredible team. But it was more than just professional collaboration. Elena found herself looking forward to their meetings more than she cared to admit. Kieran was funny, kind, and genuinely interested in her work. He listened to her stories about difficult cases and celebrated her successes like they were his own. Elena, Kieran said suddenly, his tone becoming serious. There's something I need to tell you. Elena's stomach dropped. Over the past 3 weeks, she'd been dreading this moment. She'd been waiting for Kieran to say he couldn't see her anymore, that their friendship was becoming too complicated. What is it? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. My family wants to meet you. Elena blinked. Your family? My pack? Kieran clarified. In shapeshifter communities, we don't just have families. We have packs, groups of related shapeshifters who live and work together. They've been asking about you. Asking about me? Why? Kieran looked uncomfortable. Because I've been spending so much time with you. Because I talk about you constantly. Because it's obvious that you're important to me. Lena felt her cheeks grow warm. Important to you, Lena? I think you know how I feel about you, Kieran said softly. These past 3 weeks have been the best of my life. Working with you, talking to you, just being around you. It's changed everything for me. Elena's heart started racing. She'd been feeling the same way, but she'd been too afraid to admit. Kieran, I know it's complicated, he continued. I know I'm not exactly what you expected when you started dating again, but I can't pretend anymore that this is just friendship. Elena reached across the table and took his hand. I don't want to pretend either. I care about you too, more than I should probably. Kieran's face lit up with relief and joy. Really, Elena confirmed. But you're right, it is complicated. I'm still trying to understand your world and I'm not sure I fit into it. That's why I want you to meet my family, Kieran said. I want them to see what I see in you. I want you to understand that you could fit into our world if you wanted to. Lena felt nervous butterflies in her stomach. What if they don't like me? What if they think I'm not good enough for you? Impossible, Kieran said firmly. But I won't lie to you. Some of them are worried about me getting involved with a human. They think it's dangerous for our community. Dangerous how? They're afraid you might accidentally reveal our secret, or that other humans might become suspicious if they see us together too much. Alina understood their concerns, but it still hurt to think that Kieran's family might see her as a threat. Maybe they're right. Maybe this is too risky. No, Kieran said quickly. Alina, you've kept our secret perfectly. You've never even come close to revealing anything. If anything, you've helped protect us by treating injured shapeshifters without asking questions. Alina looked at him in surprise. I've treated other shapeshifters. 3 of them, actually. The raccoon with the broken paw last week, the owl with the damaged wing, and the rabbit that got caught in the fence. All shapeshifters from our community, and I never knew. You never needed to know. You just saw injured animals and helped. Them. That's who you are, Alina. That's why I... Kieran paused, looking like he wanted to say something important but was holding back. Why you what? I'm falling in love with you, he said quietly. Elena's breath caught. No one had ever said those words to her before, and meant them the way Kieran clearly did. She could see the truth in his amber eyes, the vulnerability in his expression. I'm falling in love with you too, she whispered back. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both processing what they'd just admitted. Then Kieran spoke again. Will you come meet my family? This weekend? Elena took a deep breath. What should I expect? They'll probably test you a little, Kieran said honestly. Not anything mean, but they'll want to see how you handle being around multiple shapeshifters. They'll want to make sure you're really okay with our world. And if I pass their tests, then they'll welcome you into our pack, Kieran said with a smile. And we can stop hiding our relationship. Alina hadn't realized how much the secrecy had been weighing on her until that moment. She'd been making excuses to her colleagues about why she was working late so often, why she seemed distracted, why she kept smiling for no apparent reason. There's something else, Kieran said. Something I should probably warn you about. Alina braced herself. What now? The full moon is this weekend. So shapeshifters are more intense during the full moon. Our emotions are stronger, our instincts are more powerful. We're still ourselves, but everything is amplified. Alina, thought about this? Is that dangerous for me? Not dangerous exactly. But you'll see a side of us that we usually keep hidden. We'll be more animal-like, more wild. Some humans find it frightening. Will you be there? Alina asked. Of course, then I'll be fine, Alina said with more confidence. Then she felt. Besides, I've been working with wild animals my whole career. I think I can handle a few shapeshifters. Kieran laughed. You might be surprised. We're not quite like the animals you're used to treating. How so? We're smarter, for one thing. More emotional. And we have longer memories. If you impress my family this weekend, they'll remember it forever. If you disappoint them, they'll also remember that forever, Alina finished. Exactly, Alina felt the weight of what she was agreeing to. This wasn't just about meeting her boyfriend's family. This was about being accepted into a secret world that most humans never knew existed. It was about proving that she could be trusted with their safety, their secrets, their lives. I want to do this, she said finally. I want to meet your family. And I want to be part of your world. Kieran's smile was brighter than she'd ever seen it. I was hoping you'd say that. Just promise me one thing, Alina said. Anything. Promise me you'll stay close to me. I have a feeling I'm going to need all the support I can get. Kieran reached across the table and squeezed her hand. I promise. We're in this together now. Alina squeezed back, feeling both terrified and excited about what the weekend would bring. She was about to meet a pack of shapeshifters during the full moon. The outcome would determine whether she and Kieran had a future together. No pressure at all. The weekend arrived faster than Alina had expected. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror, changing her outfit for the 3rd time. What exactly did one wear to meet a pack of shapeshifters during a full moon? Her usual jeans and sweater felt too casual, but her work clothes seemed too formal. This is ridiculous, she muttered to herself. You're going to judge me on who I am, not what I'm wearing. Her phone buzzed with a text from Kieran. Ready when you are? No pressure, but they're all very excited to meet you. Alina took a deep breath and grabbed her keys. She'd settled on dark jeans and a comfortable green sweater that Kieran had once. Said brought out her eyes. If she was going to face this challenge, she might as well feel confident doing it. The drive to Kieran's house took her through parts of town she'd never seen before. The roads got narrower and more winding as she headed toward the woods. Finally, she turned onto a dirt road that led to a cluster of houses nestled among the trees. Kieran was waiting for her in his driveway, and Alina felt some of her nervousness fade when she saw his reassuring smile. "You look beautiful," he said, giving her a gentle hug. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified," Alina admitted. "But ready, I think?" "Good, because they're all gathered at my aunt's house. She's the pack leader, and she's been wanting to meet you since I first mentioned you." They walked hand in hand through the woods to a large, cozy house with warm lights glowing in every window. Alina could hear voices and laughter coming from inside, and it sounded surprisingly normal. "Remember," Kieran said quietly as they approached the door, "they're just people who happen to have an unusual ability. They're not going to bite you or anything." "You bit me," Alina pointed out with a nervous laugh. "That was different," Kieran said with a grin. "That was because I liked you." The door opened before they could knock, revealing a woman who looked to be in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair. She had the same amber eyes as Kieran, and Alina immediately knew this was his aunt. "You must be Alina," the woman said warmly. "I'm Vera, Kieran's aunt. We've heard so much about you." Alina shook her hand, surprised by how normal and welcoming she seemed. "It's wonderful to meet you too." Inside, the house was filled with people of all ages. There were couples with young children, teenagers playing games in the corner, and elderly people sitting by the fireplace. If Alina hadn't known better, she would have thought it was just a regular family gathering. "Everyone, this is Alina," Kieran announced. The room fell quiet as everyone turned to look at her. Alina felt her cheeks grow warm under all the attention, but she managed to smile and wave. "Hello," she said simply. The silence stretched for a moment longer. Then a little girl, who couldn't have been more than 5 years old, ran up to Alina. "Are you the doctor who helps animals?" the girl asked excitedly. "Yes, I am," Alina said, kneeling down to the child's level. "My daddy says you fixed his wing when he was hurt," the girl continued. "He was the owl with the hurt wing." Alina looked up at Kieran in surprise, then back at the little girl. "Your daddy's a shapeshifter too?" "Ha! He's an owl, and Mommy is a deer, and I'm going to be a deer too when I grow up." The ice was broken. Everyone started talking at once, asking Alina questions about her work, thanking her for helping injured shapeshifters. Alina sharing stories about their own experiences. Alina found herself relaxing as the evening went on. These people were nothing like what she'd expected. They were warm, funny, and genuinely interested in getting to know her. She told them about her work at the clinic, and they shared stories about their lives in both human and animal forms. Alina, Vera said during a quiet moment, "Can I speak with you privately for a moment?" Alina's stomach tightened, but she nodded and followed Vera to a quiet corner of the room. "I want to thank you," Vera said. "Not just for helping our injured pack members, but for how happy you've made Kieran. I haven't seen him smile this much in years. It makes me happy too," Alina said honestly. "I can see that, but I have to ask you something important. Are you prepared for what a relationship with Kieran really means?" Alina thought carefully before answering. "I know it means keeping your secret safe. I know it means accepting that the person I love can transform into a fox. I know it means being part of a community that most people don't even know exists. And are you okay with all of that?" "I'm more than okay with it," Alina said. "I'm grateful to be trusted with it." Vera smiled. "Good answer. There's something else you should know. Something Kieran probably hasn't told you yet." Alina's heart skipped. "What?" "When shapeshifters fall in love, really fall in love, it's for life. We don't date casually or have temporary relationships. When we choose someone, we choose them. Forever." Alina felt her mouth go dry. "Forever? Forever?" Vera confirmed. "And from what I can see, Kieran has chosen you. The question is, have you chosen him?" Before Alina could answer, the room suddenly went quiet. Everyone was looking toward the windows where moonlight was streaming in brighter than before. "The full moon is rising," Vera said quietly. "This is when you'll really see who we are." Elena watched in fascination as the shapeshifters in the room began to change. Not physically, but emotionally. Their eyes grew brighter, their movements more fluid. Their voices softer, but somehow more intense. Kieran appeared at her side, and Elena gasped. His amber eyes were almost glowing, and there was something wild and beautiful about the way he moved. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice deeper than usual. "I'm fine," Elena said, though her heart was racing. "You're all so ... beautiful." They were. In the moonlight, every shapeshifter in the room seemed to glow with an inner light. They moved like dancers, spoke like poets, and looked at each other with pure love and loyalty. "This is who we really are," Kieran said. "This is what you're choosing if you choose me." Elena looked around the room at all these incredible people who had welcomed her into their world. She thought about Vera's words about forever, about the magnitude of what she was being offered. Elena, Kieran said softly, "I need to tell you something." "What?" "I love you. Not just care about. I love you with everything I am, human and fox. And if you'll have me, I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Elena felt tears in her eyes. Double quotes, Kieran, ... "I know it's fast," he continued. "I know we've only known each other for a few weeks, but shapeshifters know these things quickly. We recognize our mates." "Mates," Elena whispered. "The person we're meant to be with forever. The other half of our soul." Elena looked into his glowing amber eyes and realized she'd never been more certain of anything in her life. "Yes," she said. "Yes what?" "Yes, I love you too. Yes, I choose you. Yes, I want forever with you." Kieran's smile was brighter than the full moon. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her while the entire pack cheered around them. But their celebration was interrupted by a loud knock at the door. Everyone froze. "Who could that be?" Vera asked, her voice tight with concern. Through the window, Elena could see official-looking vehicles parked outside. Her heart sank as she realized what this meant. "Someone knows about us," Kieran said grimly. "Someone knows what we are." Elena felt her world crashing down around her. Just when she'd found her place in this magical community, just when she'd found the love of her life, everything was about to be destroyed. And somehow, she had the terrible feeling that it was all her fault. The knocking at the door grew louder, more insistent. Elena's heart pounded as she watched the shapeshifters around her tense up, their earlier joy replaced by fear and uncertainty. "Everyone stay calm," Vera said quietly, but Elena could hear the worry in her voice. "Children, go to the back room with your parents." Kieran moved protectively in front of Elena. "Whatever happens, stay behind me," he whispered. The door opened and Elena held her breath, expecting to see government agents or scientists ready to expose the shapeshifter community. Instead, a familiar figure stepped into the room. "Tom," Elena said in surprise. It was Tom, the construction foreman, who had called her about the trapped fox weeks ago. "Dr. Rodriguez." Tom looked equally surprised to see her. "What are you doing here?" Elena's mind raced. How could she explain her presence at a shapeshifter gathering without revealing their secret? But before she could speak, Tom continued. "Never mind that. I'm here because we have a big problem, and I think you folks might be the only ones who can help." Vera stepped forward cautiously. "What kind of problem?" Tom looked around the room nervously. "This is going to sound crazy, but I think some of the animals we've been seeing around the construction sites aren't regular animals. They're too smart, too organized. It's like they're trying to protect something." Lena felt Kieran tense beside her. The shapeshifters were protecting something, their community, their homes, their way of life. "What makes you think that?" Vera asked carefully. "Well, every time we try to expand the construction into the forest area, we get stopped by animals. Not attacked, just ... gently discouraged. A fox will lead our equipment away from certain areas. An owl will make noise until we move our trucks. It's like they're communicating with us." Lena realized what was happening. The shapeshifter community was using their animal forms to protect their territory without anyone realizing what they really were. "And you came here because?" Kieran asked. "Because I heard through the grapevine that you folks know more about local wildlife than anyone else. I was hoping you might be able to help us figure out a way to work around the animals instead of against them." Alina saw the relief flood through the room. Tom wasn't here to expose them. He was here asking for their help. Also, Tom continued, Dr. Rodriguez, I wanted to thank you again for rescuing that fox a few weeks back. That was really something special. Alina glanced at Kieran, who was trying not to smile. Just doing my job, she said. Actually, Vera said thoughtfully, I think we might be able to help you with your construction problem. Dr. Rodriguez has been working with us on a wildlife conservation project. Alina blinked in surprise, but Vera gave her a meaningful look. That's right, Alina said, catching on. We've been studying the migration patterns and nesting habits of the local animals. I think we can work out a plan that protects their habitat while still allowing your construction to continue. Tom's face lit up. That would be amazing. The company's been losing money every day. We can't work in those areas. Over the next hour, Alina found herself working with the shapeshifter community to create a genuine conservation plan. They mapped out areas that were truly important to wildlife and to the shapeshifters, designated safe corridors for animal movement, and established protected zones around sensitive habitats. It was brilliant. Not only would it protect the shapeshifter community, but it would also genuinely help the regular wildlife in the area. This is incredible work, Tom said as they finished drawing up the plans. I had no idea there was so much to consider. Dr. Rodriguez, would you be willing to oversee the implementation of this plan? Alina looked around the room at the shapeshifters who had become her new family. I'd be honored too. After Tom left with the conservation plans, the room erupted in celebration. What had started as a crisis had turned into an opportunity. Alina Vera said, You just saved our community. We all did it together, Alina replied. And this way everyone wins. Tom's construction company gets to continue their project. The regular wildlife gets protected, and your community stays safe. Kieran pulled her into his arms. You're amazing. In one evening, you've proven that you belong here more than anyone could have imagined. Speaking of belonging here, Vera said, with a smile, I believe you two have some things to discuss. Alina felt her cheeks grow warm as she remembered their declarations of love before Tom's arrival. Alina, Kieran said, taking her hands in his. I meant every word I said earlier. I love you, and I want to spend my life with you. Will you consider becoming part of our pack, officially? Alina looked around the room at all the faces, watching her with hope and acceptance. These people had welcomed her completely, trusted her with their deepest secrets, and made her feel more at home than she'd ever felt anywhere. Yes, she said, without hesitation. Yes, I want to be part of this family. The room erupted in cheers and applause. The little girl who had talked to Alina earlier ran up and hugged her legs. Does this mean you're going to be Kieran's mate forever and ever? The child asked. Alina laughed and looked up at Kieran. Forever and ever sounds perfect. To me? 6 months later, Alina stood in the same forest clearing where she'd first met Tom about the construction project. But today was different. Today, she was wearing a simple white dress and flowers in her hair. The entire shapeshifter community had gathered for her and Kieran's bonding ceremony. It was unlike any wedding Alina had ever imagined, with guests in both human and animal forms, vows spoken under the open sky, and promises that felt deeper than any words could express. Do you, Alina, promise to love and protect Kieran in all his forms, to keep the secrets of our community, and to be his partner for life? Vera asked. I do, Alina said, looking into Kieran's amber eyes. And do you, Kieran, promise to love and protect Alina, to bridge the gap between our world and hers, and to be her partner for life? I do, Kieran said, his voice strong and sure. Then, by the power of the pack and the blessing of the moon, I declare you bonded for life. As Kieran kissed her, Alina heard the most beautiful sound, a chorus of howls, chirps, and calls from all the shapeshifters in their animal forms, celebrating their union. Later, as they danced under the stars, Alina marveled at how much her life had changed. Any regrets? Kieran asked softly. Alina looked around at their celebration, at the magical community she was now part of, at the man she loved more than she'd ever thought possible. Only one, she said. Kieran looked concerned. What's that? Elena grinned. Regret that it took you so long to bite me during that rescue. Kieran threw back his head and laughed, the sound mixing with the night sounds of the forest around them. Don't worry, he said, pulling her closer. I planned to make up for lost time, as they spun around the clearing, surrounded by their pack. Family and serenaded by the night creatures, Elena knew she had found exactly where she belonged. She had found her home, her purpose, and her forever love, all in one magical impossible. Perfect package, and it had all started with a simple rescue. Colin, a fox, who thought she was too beautiful not to bite,